I want you to think a bit, and you may have a hard time thinking about this, but have you ever interviewed a candidate and it's going really well? And they're saying all the right things, and you're like, this is the perfect person for my job. And you hire them, and they accept the job. And then a week later, a month later, maybe even 2 days later, you say, what happened to the person I interviewed? This is not the same person. Has that ever happened to you? Yeah, it's happened to me a lot. So one day I'm thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. There's got to be a better way. So I decided that I would love to have Wonder Woman's Magic Lasso. I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan. Anybody else Wonder Woman? Yeah. So those of you that are fans know that the Magic Lasso, when you put it around somebody, it makes them tell you the truth, right? So I'm like, this is how I'm going to do my interviews from now on. So I pictured myself like this. Well, that didn't really work. So I'm still looking for the real lasso. But I have learned over the years a lot of techniques that can help you to find out who that person in front of you truly is. And will they be the right fit for your job and your business? So today we're just going to drill in on one particular thing, and that is constructing an effective interview question. So you ready? Okay. So when you first start to write an interview question, you want to make sure it's very conversational, because you want this candidate to feel like you're their friend. And how do you do that? Most of your questions, you want to start off with, could you? Could you share? Could you tell me? Now, traditionally, we've been taught to ask questions like, tell me this, right? That's how all the interview questions were years ago. But that puts people's defense up a little bit, and you won't get the true them. If you start a question with, could you, it makes them feel like they have an element of control. And it starts to bring down their defenses a little bit, and you'll start to see the more authentic them. So the next part of the question is where you want to start to get details from them. Because people have a hard time lying in details. It's true, and I'm sure you all know that. So you want to ask for specific examples. So when you're asking an interview question, most of your questions, now we know, start with, could you share a specific example? Now, some of your candidates, wow, I feel like an echo. So some of your candidates are not going to start to get into those details that you really need to hear. So in order to get those details, you have to probe. So you want to keep asking them, walk me through what happened in that situation. What was your role? Because you want to know, what are these actions that they've taken in the past in different situations? And that will help you to know what they're going to be like in your position, in your business. Now, one thing you need to make sure is that you're not swayed by hypotheticals. And we are all guilty of this. I know I've been guilty of it many, many times. Candidates have gotten very good at talking in hypotheticals and knowing the right things to say that they get off of the internet or they've practiced or learned somewhere. And those things are going to sound like, you should, or we did. You want to make sure you're listening for, I did this. And when you're really honing in on that, that's when you'll know, are they telling you what they've actually done, or are they telling you what they think you want to hear? Are you starting to get this a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. So the last part of an interview question, before you can write it, you need to know what great looks like at your business. And this takes a little bit of work, but it's the most important part. And in order to do this, the best way to start is to start writing down your stories. And after my talk, you're going to get a little worksheet that I created for you, where you can start writing down your good and your bad stories. So what do those look like? The good stories are the ones you're already telling all your friends. You love to brag about your team members who did these great things at your business and really hit the ball out of the park. The bad stories are the ones you're already complaining about your past employees, hopefully past employees, where they didn't live up to what you really need. Okay? So from those stories, that's when you're going to start to be able to create a question. So I'm going to share an example with you. Looks like the slide got a little messed up, but you'll still get it. So Michelle from the wedding shop, is she here? Because I actually haven't seen her yet. Hi, Michelle. Michelle is one of our newer clients, and she was gracious enough to allow me to share a little story with you as an example. So when we first started working with her, I asked her, what is a characteristic that a successful bridal stylist really needs to have at the wedding shop? And she said, emotional intelligence, number one, right? So I said, great. Can you tell me a specific story of one of your team members who was really living that value? She's like, of course, I have a ton of them. So she told me about Cody. And hopefully I won't mess this story up. So Cody never wants a bride to leave thinking something is undone. So one day, a bride walks in, and I guess it was for a fitting, and her dress fit, but it was a little bit tight. She had gained a little bit of weight, and she was really upset. You know, you want your wedding dress to be perfect for your wedding day. And so Cody sat down with her, she comforted her, she was a friend to her, but she went a step further. Cody said to this bride, let me take care of this for you. Our great seamstress will make sure this dress fits perfectly for you in time for your wedding day. I don't want you to think about a thing. This is on my shoulders, and it's going to be perfect. Well, that's pretty powerful. Those are the type of stories you want to write down, and I'm sure you all have stories like that. And those stories are not only going to let you write the right interview questions that you need to be asking, but it's also going to help you recognize good interview responses. It will give you something to measure against. So here we are. Here's a question. Could you share a specific example of a difficult customer you've had to deal with? So this is a question we've now been using when we've been interviewing candidates for the wedding shop. But we use this quite often. Actually, with the wedding shop, we've twisted it a little bit and said a difficult customer who's maybe emotional, to just get a feel for, have they dealt in those kind of situations. So you want to come up with situations that happen at your business frequently, on a daily basis. Now, here's the really important part that we mess up all the time. You don't want to give away the answer. How many of us give away the answers to the candidates? I know sometimes I catch myself still doing it. And how do we do that? Well, we listen? No, we say to them, and how did you fix this problem? Well, now we just told them what we want to hear. The good candidates, the ones who've actually fixed a problem like that in the past, are going to tell you how they fixed it, how they resolved it, or if they couldn't, what they learned from it. The bad ones most probably are not going to tell you how it was resolved, and it's going to kill you. You're going to want them to finish that story and have a happy ending, a good resolution. So the thing that you need to do is to leave it hanging. If they leave it hanging, let it just hang there. Now, if you feel like, well, maybe they're not great at interviewing and you want to probe them a little bit, you can say, oh, well, what happened next? But just be very careful not to give away the answer. One of the interview questions that we often ask is, tell us about a time you really hit it out of the park in a customer service situation, or you really wowed a customer. That is a terrible interview question because you're giving away the answer. Any candidate, no matter how bad they are at customer service, has at least one story they can share with you. But if you're asking them to tell you about their most difficult customer, The person who's really good at customer service is going to give you that story you want to hear. So, in summary, most of your interview questions, you want to start conversational. Could you share a specific example, and make sure you use those exact words, and then have a situation ready you want to ask about. And most importantly, leave it hanging. Now, I have on this website here, if you click on it and click on download, I've prepared for you 5 interview questions that you should always ask every single candidate, no matter what the position. So please feel free to go to that site and get that. I don't have the slides up there, but if anybody would like these slides, I'm happy to share them if you send me an email or text me. Thank you.